Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to the video for a quick briefing of your assignment SK025. Okay, so for your assignment SK025, you are required to produce a digital poster based on Chapter 4, Introduction to Organic Chemistry. Okay, so the linear outcome for this assignment here is to show the structural formula, classify the carbon, identify functional group, and identify and explain stereoisomer. Okay, so what is the question in your assignment itself? So let's look here. So the first question is to draw the compound in expanded, condensed, and skeletal form. So all the compound must be hand-drawn. Okay, once you have drawn it on a piece of paper, for example, then you have to take a picture of it and include it in your poster because again, it must be hand-drawn. Second question is to circle and name all the functional group where you can show it on your skeletal structure. Question number 3 is to classify the carbon atom, where this one you can show on your expanded structure. Question number 4 is to state the type of stereoisomer present. Question number 5, show and explain the stereoisomer exists. So for the stereoisomer, what you have learned is actually cis trans as well as your optical isomer. So it's either one lah. Okay, so for the case of show, for the cis trans, you have to circle which part that exhibit the cis trans. For the optical, you have to show it based on, you have to label the carbon, the chiral carbon with a star. Okay, to explain the stereoisomer, you have to look at the requirement. Okay, question number 6, provide 3 facts about the compound, and 7, one of the facts must be cited by using APA format. So actually the question itself is until 6 here lah, but make sure 3 facts, at least one of the fact must be cited by using APA format. So for your digital poster, it must be in portrait format. Okay, and then for your digital poster, you have to include your name, tutorial group, and metric number. And the digital poster must be in PDF, so you can draw it in Canva, in Microsoft PowerPoint, up to you which application that you are comfortable, but make sure when you submit it, it must be in PDF. Okay, so where to submit? The mode of submission for your assignment will be Google Classroom, which I have posted it already. And due date is actually Monday, 14th of March 2022 at 8 AM. So it's in 1 month time. Okay. Okay, so how about the marks allocation itself? The marks allocation total is 30 marks. So 21 marks is basically from the question itself lah. From this one, you get 21 marks. So where do you get another 9? Another 9 is from here, your rubric here. So you have your organization of content, attractiveness, and punctuality. So I hope you can try your best to make sure that you get all the 3 marks ni lah for each ni. So you will get your full marks based upon your assignment. Okay, so each of the class itself, I have shared the name list, as well as each of your molecule itself lah. What is the molecule that you have to draw? Okay, so how to draw the poster itself? Here, I have 2 example of the poster, so I'm going to do, let's do it together, ataupun kita akan tengok sikit how to answer the question itself. Okay, so for example here, what I have is indigo dye. So for the structure itself, you have to show expanded, condensed, and skeletal. Okay, for the skeletal, I believe most of the structure mostly are the benzene ring. So the one that the benzene ring that we are used to is actually a skeletal structure. But when you draw the condensed structure, remember each of it must have carbon, kan? And carbon must have 4 bonds. Here carbon 1, 2, 3. So it means another one hydrogen. Okay, so for the expanded one, you have to show lah the carbon and the hydrogen. And the carbon-hydrogen bond is shown. Okay, this is actually for the expanded. For the condensed, for a cyclic structure, you still have to show the shape itself. But then again, the carbon-hydrogen bond tak perlu tunjuk lah. Carbon-hydrogen is just like this. If they expanded, carbon-hydrogen like this one, you have to draw. Kalau condensed, it's like this one. But for the condensed itself, you have to show the shape. What is the shape, especially for the cyclic structure? Okay, and then for the expanded, here we have our NH, kan? NH, make sure it is expanded structure. The same because when we look here, we have our example here, kan? Tyrosine. Okay, so we have our OH. This is OH. But then for the expanded structure, we have to make sure the OH like this lah. expanded ataupun the condensed must this one. OH ni is for the expanded, this is for the condensed, this is for the expanded. Okay, but that means why this one COH yang sini kita nampak dia macam HO. Okay, because remember, for the alcohol itself, OH tu, it is bonded to our carbon. So that's why this one, carbon is bonded to oxygen, oxygen is bonded to the hydrogen. So the same goes here, the carbon is bonded to oxygen, and oxygen tu must have hydrogen attached to it. Because if you show it like this, CHO, so it means this one, the hydrogen is bonded to the carbon, which is incorrect lah. This is false lah. Because for the alcohol, COH, the oxygen is the one is bonded to our carbon itself. Okay, so again for the condensed structure we have COOH. If the expanded structure, we have to show each of the bond tu memang kita buat expand betul. Okay, so that is actually for the structure itself. Okay, next is the classification of carbon. Okay, so classification of carbon, you can draw it again your expanded structure. Make sure it is expanded structure lah. Okay, and then for the classification, it must be sp3 carbon. sp3 carbon tu, simpler word dia adalah where the carbon must have 4 single bond. Okay, so when we look for the case of our benzene here, carbon ni, we have 2 single bond and 1 double bond. So it means that it does not have 4 single bond kan. So here the carbon in the benzene ring cannot be classified. Okay, even though because it can't be classified, so we're just gonna let it be lah. We're not gonna label any. But then check lah each of the carbon in the compound itself. So carbon here, it can be classified because it has 4 single bond. So for the carbon that can be classified, you can classify straight away kalau primary, secondary or tertiary. Boleh label next to the carbon itself. So dekat sini our carboxylic acid here, carbon ni has 2 single bond and 1 double bond. So again, it does not have 4 single bond, so cannot be classified. Okay, so for the classification of carbon itself, write down lah the primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary. Even though for this example itself kan, it does not have any primary, tertiary, quaternary, but then if you do not have any, just write down 0 lah. But you have to include all these 4. Okay, so that's for the classification. Next is actually for the functional group. Okay, for the functional group itself, you can draw a skeletal structure again. So from the skeletal structure, you have to circle at least 3 lah. Memang usually ada at least 3 of your functional group. So based upon this example, it's circle 1 and then label 1. You have to answer at the side here, or you could also just circle a compound and name it near to the circle itself lah. Phenol, here is amino, etc. Okay, so that is the functional group. Okay, next is stereoisomer. Okay, so for the stereoisomer itself, okay, you have to draw the structure again. In this case, this type of stereoisomer is enantiomer. Then the name for enantiomer is optical isomerism. Okay, so for the optical isomerism, here mention ada jawapan dah. Presence of chiral carbon, which is sp3 hybridized carbon that have 4 different group attached to it. Okay, so again for the chiral carbon ni, you have to label lah which one is the chiral carbon with a star. So in this case, this carbon is the one that is our chiral carbon. It is enough if you only label it as a star. There's no need for you to redraw ataupun draw the mirror image tu, there's no need. Only for the structure itself, you label it. Kalau optical isomer, the star one. Okay, if you look based upon the first poster tu, here we have the type of stereoisomer is geometrical isomerism or cis-trans isomer. Okay, so for cis-trans isomer, the requirement is actually where we have our carbon-carbon double bond, or we have our carbon-carbon single bond in a cyclic compound, cycloalkane. So for the case of cis-trans, we have to circle lah. Again, this is actually the answer for the requirement for cis-trans. Okay, next question is actually we have to answer is the fun facts, and make sure you have to include the reference at least one in APA format. Okay, so that is basically how to do the assignment itself. So again, if you want to show the draft for me to check is fine. You don't have to draw. You don't have to show it to me the full poster. You can show it to me the draft only from the question 1 until 5. Okay, for the draft 1 until 5 pun dah okay lah. There's no need for you to show the completed poster. Okay, so that's it for the briefing. If you have any question, you can ask me.